Greetings, good storytellers. I am Jack Fulmer, and this is a video that I've been wanting to make for quite a while to balance out some of the other videos that I've had on this channel. Videos discussing difficulties that I'm going through and acknowledging this struggle in the hopes that by being candid about it and sharing it, it will help me to better deal with it and to paint a honest picture of who I am and cause these concerns to not be repressed in a way that makes them seem like they are something to be ashamed of on top of causing me to not feel well. But there is the flip side to that as well, that there is always good with the bad. And in acknowledgement of that and of one of my all-time favorite Doctor Who episodes, I want to make this video and title it Pile of Good Things. My Pile of Good Things. And that is a reference to the Matt Smith Doctor Who episode Vincent and the Doctor, where they go back in time and get into some hijinks with Vincent Van Gogh. And then at the end of the story, in a moment that's especially beautiful for anyone who has artistic inclinations, they bring Vincent Van Gogh back to the present so that they can see the full impact of his work. And it's this beautiful emotional moment, hearing the curator of that wing of the museum extolling the positive effect, the joy that Vincent van Gogh's paintings have brought people throughout the years, and saying that he took the pain of his tormented life and transformed it into ecstatic beauty. That's just such a beautiful scene. And then, upon concluding that adventure, Amy's sad because she was hoping that all these events that they'd been through together would have helped him to have a better life and that things might have turned out differently for him. And she instead seemingly sees that nothing has changed and just says, "We didn't make a difference at all." And then Matt Smith has an absolutely beautiful quote, and I will read that here because while I always keep some part of it in my heart, I want to get the words just right because it's so perfect. And he says that, "I wouldn't say that. The way I see it, every life is a pile of good things and bad things. And the good things don't always soften the bad things, but vice versa, the bad things don't necessarily spoil the good things or make them unimportant." And we definitely added to his pile of good things. And they do indeed find that that was the case. And so I just wanted to make a silly, foolish video talking about a few of these good things that I have in my life that are positive changes that have either happened or blessings that continue to exist in my life despite the diabetes, despite all these different things. And it's difficult for me to talk about some of these things because I know that some of my friends, and so probably also people watching this video, have problems in some of these areas of their life, and it's sometimes, even though it's difficult, it's easier to talk about problems than about blessings, because for me, I feel guilty bringing up something in a conversation, even if it is a legitimate good thing that has been giving me some peace of mind. If I know that one of my friends is actually having a problem with that, it feels in some way insensitive and like I'm rubbing it in their face, or going, "Oh, well, I know that you're having trouble with this, but wow, that's going great for me." So I don't know, but so I do apologize if any of the good things for me aren't good things for you, but I'm sure that vice versa, some of the bad things for me aren't bad things for you, and that you have your own good things. And so I hope that you will understand that, and that I don't mean any of this in any sort of a way where I intend it to give you a reason to feel sad about something. I also apologize for the lack of dress. I just got up and still in my pajamas because it's ultra late in the evening, and I'm missing some buttons in this pair of pajamas, so it doesn't really stay nicely. I don't know. Makes me look rather foolish, but whatever. So, two continual good things in my life, even though there are negatives that happen sometimes, are my parents. They've been a huge support and just a continual source of love, and especially want to just acknowledge and how just how much I respect my dad, because he has such a beautiful quality to his voice and a twinkle in his eye. And even though he is nowhere near he's like 60 or older now, I can't even remember at this point, but that he looks like he's still 25 in his heart. And he somehow managed to do this. He's managed to keep the best parts of being young without the pitfalls that some people encounter of, not actually maturing or things like that. That he has all of the wisdom and the understanding, all of the maturity of someone of his true age, but that same passion, that same beautiful lightness of spirit of someone still looking at the world fresh-faced and young. And it is a huge inspiration to me, and I would love to be able to be someone like him if I ever am lucky enough to have a family, that to be able to bring that level of compassion and understanding and just youthful joy to it. And of course there's days where it's frustrated with work or this or that, but that just still there's always that background, and it's so beautiful. And as a child, Tommy Oliver the Green Ranger was of course my hero, but now growing older, it is definitely my dad. And then as well there's also my mom, and that, watching too many Disney movies as a kid, I was very afraid that, of course, since mother's always dying, that well, clearly she's going to die quite quickly at some point, just like that. And, she's having some problems, but she's still here. She's been a wonderful source of joy and compassion to me for all these years. And that even though it's having some difficulties now, that one thing that as a child of the 90s I'll always remember, and that was very, very wonderful of her, is she learned how to program a VCR, which if you could do in the 90s, if you could program a VCR, you were a wizard. And she figured this out for me so that she could record Darkwing Duck for me so that I could watch it when I got back from school. And that was really nice. And she's always been there to be a friend and to give me support. And as I said, I know that people have, troubles in their relationships with their parents, and blessedly that hasn't been an area that has been as much of a difficulty for me, even though, as I said, there are other health areas where things aren't as good, but still that's something that's so precious to me. And another relationship that I deeply value, this is a newer thing of the past few years, is that I at the moment have 4 really close, really good friends. And nearly all of these things are connected in some way to some narrative thing, because that's kind of how I live my life. But I remember I'm still shut in to some degree, but I'm working on that. I'm at least getting out and driving. But when I was in my super period of being just a total shut-in and not having really any contact with anyone, I hadn't, aside from family, I didn't have any friends. And when I was just hadn't really gotten into doing any computer activities to interact with people online and stuff, that I remember watching Kim Possible on the Disney Channel, and they had one promotional, sort of pseudo behind the scenes commercial, and it was with the actor who voices Ron Stoppable, and he's describing his character and saying, he's Kim's good friend, and that if you have one really good friend in your life, that you're doing okay, and so that his character is Kim's good friend. And I remember seeing that, and even though I love that show, being that makes me a little sad because I don't have, aside from my parents, I don't have one really good friend at the moment. And even though other things have gotten a little bit worse, that is one thing that certainly has gotten better, because now I've got 4 really good friends. And even though I feel bad that they're going through difficulties and I wish that I could be there to help more, it is still a blessing to have them, and that even though we can't always share the joys as much as we would like, we can still commiserate over the problems that we do have and share the good times that we do have. And there have been some very good times, and I look forward to more. And those are the key main points, but if you'll permit me, there are 2 others as well. One is, of course, this channel, and I know it sounds silly to say, but this was a dream that I worked so long to finally build up both the courage and the technical skill to be able to pull off in some semblance. And to finally be doing this and to be making these videos is a constant source of joy. And even though my perfectionism gets to me sometimes and I have difficulty finally signing off on a video, it is still something that's just so beautiful. And you've all been so welcoming and so understanding, especially with me transitioning at the moment into some of this unscripted content. And that's so great. And I do want to get back to doing a few more slightly more scripted videos and trying to get some of the quality back into there, but having this different sort of quality to the videos, a quality not of not describing excellence, but describing a different tone to the videos. That I do like the slightly more honest, slightly more intimate tone that some of these have, which is not a good word to say when you're wearing pajamas, but intimate as in being more open and not having this wall of I am delivering a scholarly article on videos, a scholarly article on tropes and literary themes, and you are the people watching this, that instead it has more of a I'm talking to friends sort of feel to it. And that is very nice. And so I do want to keep that while trying to bring in some of the more succinctly and artfully chosen words that I am capable of in a fully scripted video. And maybe opening narrations again and such. But it's more being able to have this channel, being able to have such a positive reaction from all of you is a joy. And that you put up with my exceedingly late remarks sometimes, because I'm always so pleased anytime that someone takes the time to write a comment. That's so cool. And sometimes things are going on, and I always want to respond to them with the just honest sincerity of how much joy it gives me to see something like that. And sometimes I struggle to find the right words, or because there's things going on, I can't find the right way to do it, and so I end up replying a little bit late, but that doesn't change the joy that it brought to me being able to see that. So thank you so much for that, for sharing my videos, for finding some measure of joy or some food for thought in them. That's great. And the one other thing that I do want to touch on here, and we'll leave it at those 5, which is by far in some way the stupidest of all these, because all these other ones do have some beautiful quality to them, and this one only has significance as a child of the 90s and someone who waited way too long to get into any sort of streaming and stuff like that. That it is something that is quite cool, and still, naive as I am, a source of joy watching these movies and TV shows on streaming services and things like that. Again, I know it's stupid, but just there's something so cool about being able to sit down with the family or with friends and just watch an entire season of a new show that you've just discovered, or watch all these old movies. And because I am someone who collected DVD upon DVD, and before that VHS upon VHS, to be able to experience these shows that I loved anytime that I wanted, and having it all suddenly right there, it's something that is commonplace now, but because it took me so long to get into it. As a child of the 90s, this is everything that you could have ever dreamed, having all those wonderful stories there, just a finger's breadth away, and being able to be so spoiled for choice as to great stories to watch and to experience. There's something almost magical about it, as silly and preposterous as it sounds, and I'm sure I'll get used to it and it'll become just, oh, this is the norm. Of course you can watch whatever you want when you want. But I still remember the days of being ecstatic that I was able to get some new movie and add it to my collection, or that I was able to finally finish recording some TV series on VHS and put all my VHSs there on the shelf with personalized labels. And even though you had the commercials in them and things like that, and you couldn't choose what episode you wanted to watch, you just sit and watch them and enjoy it. And so having this vast catalog of great stories is a beautiful thing. So, with this very silly video now at its conclusion, thank you for putting up with this, and I hope that there are some wonderful things in your pile of good things too. Because, as the doctor said, life is a pile of good and bad things, and the good things don't always soften the bad, but vice versa, the bad don't necessarily spoil the good things or make them unimportant. And I definitely have a wonderful pile of good things. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see what the next video is that I'm able to share with you and continue this beautiful experience. Thank you again.